going to be here for a while, so get comfy. Our first session in this space is going to be by presenter TJ Bond. Let's give him a round of applause. Woo!
Hi, everyone. A quick, just so I know who I'm talking to. First off, raise your hand for those in instrumental. Choir. General. Strings. Did I leave you out? Anyone else out? If I left you out, I'm so sorry. All right. One of the things, guys, as we go through this, if you have any questions at any time other than the static that you're hearing, that's, I promise you, my total fault. I did that on purpose. If you have any questions, please raise your hand, especially if you want me to go deeper into any subject. Okay. Look, that's distracting me enough. All right, so if you have any questions, please let me know. All right, raise your hand, make it big so I can tell. All right, I want to be here to help you along with any other teacher. So first off, to get to know a bit about me. All right, I am from Michigan originally, actually. I graduated Western Michigan. I was born in Elkhart, Indiana. Did most of my stuff growing up in Edwardsburg. They call it Michiana. It's the area around South Bend, Indiana, Notre Dame. No, I don't care for the Fighting Irish. Just because if you hear constantly being shoved down your throat how good they are for all of your life, well, you might not want to get to know them as much. I studied under Dr. David Montgomery, Dr. John Leichner, and Dr. Andrew Rathbun. Saxophone's my main instrument. Yes, but I like to say I'm not as arrogant, but just about myself. I moved to Montana for different reasons than a lot of folks. I actually had a close friend of mine move out here I want to say now 12 years ago. And him and I were really close, lived about a mile apart. Job opening came up, felt called to come out, and here I am. And I do not miss where I came from. I absolutely love Montana. My wife in Montana, we are new parents. That is my baby Cyrus. I never thought I'd be that dad that takes a bazillion pictures, but my phone is already down like 3 gigs. So I promise you, I got baby photos. I am a super geek. I still play video games. I'm still a memer. I go for the OGs. I know everything. And that helps me with my students, too, who think they know everything. One last thing I like to mention about myself is I do have GAD. If you don't know what that is, it's general anxiety disorder. Essentially, I am Piglet from Winnie the Pooh. It's not one thing that I'm afraid of. It's everything at all times, all at once. Something that I struggled with, but I'm not saying that as don't take pity on me. It's just something that I had to learn to adapt my life with. Another way to think about it, and this one some people say they also feel, my head is a complete tornado of Post-it sticky notes with different information on it. I'll get into that in a different time, but just because I want to be as honest as I can with you guys. So, first off, what I'm talking about here, first year teaching. So I came from where I was at, big city, near Chicago, Illinois. That general area was South Bend and Chicago. South Bend was like a little Chicago in terms of size. Very, very packed. When I got out of college, here's what I said. I was going to build a music program. Grade 3, 4, have a stab choir. I was going to have lots of mini concerts, pick festival music. I wasn't going to be that guy that overprogrammed. No, I'm going to get it right the first time. Not going to be that guy, because I kept hearing it over and over. I was going to establish myself as a solid figure in music, and I was going to network with everyone, including my people from Michigan. I was gung-ho, like, here I go! And this is what happened. Well, half the choir and band quit. I had an SAB choir with, like, maybe 3 guys, and only one of them was a decent singer. People in the community wanted me fired. The people that told me, hey, trust this kid, trust this, they're very good, trust this adult, were the ones that were actively seeking to get me fired. The other weird thing is they wanted me fired because I was a dude. Look, you can be mad at me for lots of different reasons, but if that's the only reason, well, what the heck? So women, especially in the audience, I at least understand a little bit of how weird it feels that you get picked out that way. But it can happen to guys too, depending on the history. I overprogrammed, too hard in music. COVID-19. Yeah, we all get that. Only chatted with one teacher, and I was teacher at the time in Fort Benton, Andrew Kilpatrick. I burned a lot of bridges. I was alone, I was terrified, doubting, Even tried, because at this time I was trying to seek somebody, and that was even a mess. So my mind essentially was like this constant stream of just panic. Absolute and utter, what the heck am I doing? What's the point of doing what I'm doing? I can't do this. And I guarantee you this is a very common feeling to have. All right, so if you feel that, don't worry. We've all been there in some form. You might even have it already thinking if you're graduating soon. Like, what the heck's going to happen next? But here's the thing. Don't panic. If you like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I know more about it than you, but I say that in a joke, smiling way because more people need to know about it. I had a friend of mine that helped me kind of work through some stuff and made me realize something about why I do what I do. And one of the things I want to talk to you guys about is I'm not trying to say, oh, you're going to hate teaching. No, I want to be honest. Because I think sometimes we think of what we're going into as, oh, I remember how much I loved my music teacher. I remember how much. We all have somebody like that. But we don't realize on the other side of the coin what the things they had to deal with. Or some of the things that you may not have considered. And that's something I feel is important, not to say you're going to prevent this, but to be able to brace yourself so that you don't have that panic. All right, so I promise you, don't panic. So first off, here's some things and truths that you're going to have in your first year teaching. You will make several mistakes that you didn't plan to. I swore I'd never forget a student's name. I always hated when teachers did that. Happened, my third day? And it happened with a younger kid that was like really self-conscious about their name. I swore I wouldn't overprogram. Oh, I won't do that. Happened. I underprogrammed on one thing too. It was so underprogrammed that kids got mad at me. And these mistakes will help you understand teachers you may not have liked as much in a different way. Think about a teacher you really didn't care for. Was it because of their teaching, or was it because they always seemed frustrated? Just how they handled the stress. I mean, it's another way to think about it. There's also bad teaching. Let's be honest. There is that too. You will lose students simply because you're not the norm. I was told no students would leave. Well, it's hard not to take this personally, but it has nothing to do with you. It really doesn't. It's just because you're different. And think about how much passion you have for a favorite teacher, favorite person in your life. What if they're suddenly gone? It's that same feeling. And the kids are going to have that too, whether you understand that or not. They might try, but it's still going to be hard. You're expected to continue all traditions whether you like them or not. There are some traditions, though, that you should stop if it's dangerous to the ensemble. If it's about throwing your trumpets in the air as high as you can as a competition, yeah, maybe stop that one. If it's sometimes like, hey, at this homecoming event, we always do this song, then this song, and even if it seems kind of odd, you do it. The first year especially, don't fight it. Because if you fight it, that's where they're going to be mad at you because they think, oh, you're here to make everything worse. Be understanding to where they're coming from. The community is very set in ways, all right? Whether it's big or small, no matter what, they're going to be set, hey, we're going to do this, we do it this way, we do it this way, and it's just part of their nature. They might want someone new to come in, but they want you to continue, not change. The best kind of change is slow, all right? If you want something to change, one step at a time. How do you eat an elephant? Bingo, one bite at a time. As silly as that metaphor is, it's actually helped me remember sometimes you need that. No matter how much you know, adults will always assume you are a baby. Your college folks, they're going to treat you like you're less than high school. And I can tell you how frustrating that is. Especially because, I've had coffee with greats. I've studied under this. I've had lessons with Tim McAllister on saxophone. What the heck? But the thing is, it's not out of disrespect. This took me a bit to understand. It's because you're building experience. You're turning this intelligence that you've gained, turning it into wisdom, matching what you know with the experiences around you. All right? Things aren't going to be as nice as in the books. I wish it was sometimes. But that's just one of the things. And you might say, oh, I already got that. Well, it goes even further as you teach. And it still goes on, all the way until you retire. Music rep you pick will almost be too difficult, even if your school kids are talented. But one of the things that it took me frustrated because what I checked what they did previously, I did my calculations. What's wrong? There's a factor that I didn't consider. I'm different. how I teach, how I conduct, how I lead. Everything is different. So no matter what I do, it's going to be tougher to understand. It's going to be tougher to digest because I'm not the norm. You are only as lonely as you make yourself to be. I was that guy that said I wasn't going to be isolating myself, and I did. Didn't help. COVID did not help in the slightest, because COVID, of course, made us a lot go isolated. But I kind of went out of the way to make myself isolated. One of the tricks that helped me out especially is every day at elementary school, I go out and I'll pick a random instrument, just play it out there and just goof around with some of the kids as they're getting picked up for school. The couple things that it does: one, it gets some of the younger kids super excited about music instruments. Two, it also helps them see me as, hey, this is the music teacher. Parents can see me. They know I'm a trusted adult. Especially at the elementary school, I'm one of 2 boys. So if they see a random large man like myself, sometimes there's fear. I get it. All right, but if I put myself out there in a way that's calm, friendly, parents don't feel like obligated, oh, I gotta stay away. No, they can come up to me. They see the kids come up to me. They want to play the instrument too. In the end, and this is the most important thing, this is your job, but it's not your identity. Never compromise who you are as a person for work. And I'll say that again. Never compromise who you are as a person for work. But I feel like in our field, it's almost mandatory. You're a musician. You have to be obsessed with music. Well, what about other things in life? What if I like to go fishing? Nope. Only music. What if I like to watch YouTube videos? No. Only music. And that pressure that we feel on that sometimes, it's important to be aware of it. This is not you. You are you. So, here's a couple things that help me out and some encouragement too. First off, reach out. Reach out. No question is too stupid, even if that's a matter of, what's the range of a soprano? Basic question. When I first came in, my degree was in K-12 music, instrumental focus. And even at that, I was focused in high school. And then suddenly I come into where I'm at in Big Sandy and, oh, I'm teaching a choir. Oh, what's the ranges again? I kind of slept through a lot of those classes. If you ever feel, let's say like, you know what, I do want to reach out, but no one ever comes to me. No one ever reaches out. Hey, same here. If you don't like that, be the person that takes the first step. And I know that sucks. It really does. Especially for those of you in here that are introverted. I am an extroverted introvert, meaning I have a battery life. And the second that battery life goes out, I do not want to see a single human being. Maybe my cat, maybe my son. That's about it. So hey, if you are in that boat, actually, hey, I will say this. I love my wife to pieces. She'll actually usually catch when I do that. And yeah, it's very nice. I love my wife a lot. Shouldn't say it that way. Anyways, the point though is, I understand how reaching out sometimes can be that nerve-wracking feeling, especially to those that feel the same. All right? We're weirdos in music. Embrace your weirdo. We'll embrace it with you. Be flexible, but defend your program. Your first year of teaching, they are going to want you to seem like they're changing a lot. Some of it is trying to get you adapted to the climate, but they might also try to do it to shrink music. For example, they tried to kill my 5th grade and 6th grade band class first year I was there. I stopped it because I had backup. But I used the previous years to say, hey, I need to stop. I need to make sure that this is. And you can be firm. Here's the thing. We're in a teacher shortage right now. It is okay to be aggressive, as long as it's appropriate. Connect with a large main group in the community and learn about them. Because of my friend, I was super connected to the church. He's the pastor. I got into the community, and because of that, when some things happened that I felt were against me, suddenly, instead of just being me, the newcomer, I had a church backing me up, saying, wait a second, he might be onto something here. And suddenly I didn't feel so isolated. All right? Whether you're religious or not, there's lots of different groups you can do. Because I say church is probably the most common. But you might be Rotary, booster clubs. Even if you're just there as a part of it, parents see this. Parents watch. They pay attention. All right? The other thing this shows them is you're not treating the school as a stepping stone. The small schools especially, a lot of small schools might feel like they're just a stepping stone to a bigger job. But the thing is, if you show that you care, even if you're not going to be there long, it at least shows them, you know what? You actually care about the kids at least. And then it won't feel like an impersonal attack to you. Acknowledge that you are human. I guarantee all of you are human in this building, except for me. I walked out of a swamp one day. You are all human. You'll make mistakes. It is okay. All right? The next, you know what? You might get so ticked off with a kid that you think, oh, there's that big bridge burned. Next day, oh, hi. Oh, okay. Every morning's a chance for a reset. Here's another thing. Whenever you get stressed out, remember why? Why are you here? Why are you in music? Were you here for the money? Let's be honest, no. And it's a running joke that gets old. I'm saying, just saying. But we all know this, though. We know that there's a bit more heart, there's passion in this. Remember that, whether that be playing your own instrument or just play with the kids. How often have you just, hung out with the pep band and just played a song? Or you know what, sing some fun show tunes. Just have fun. Take a moment to breathe every day. What I mean by this, take 20 minutes. My teacher, Dr. David Montgomery, says 10. I think 20. Don't do anything related to music. Don't do anything related to planning. Don't do anything related to teaching. People say, oh yeah, I take the time to breathe, and then they read something about teaching, or being a better planner, or being a better this. Well, that's not breathing. You're forcing more information, and that's what's going to cause your candle to burn out. Take a moment to breathe. Watch a TV show. Watch something that's stupid. Or like my wife is obsessed with Friends, and I enjoy Friends too. So I'll watch maybe an episode or two with her. And it makes me laugh, it makes me relax. And then I can tackle some of the issues I might have to fight. Another thing is workouts. Yeah, even 20 minutes, take like a small walk. Do a walk around the neighborhood. If you're in Montana, turn to the left and suddenly you've got a mountain to you. Ah, it's gorgeous. All right, plenty of reasons to see. Just wonders. All right. It does get easier, but you've got to think, you're building from the bottom up. You are going to be planting seeds your first year. As you go in, even though you're like, oh, what the heck's going on? You're actually planting seeds. You are starting something. But just like a plant, it takes time. If you instantly want it to grow, well, if a plant instantly grows after one day, well, one, something wrong with that plant. Two, it's probably not healthy, right? It's not going to last long. Same way, change is slow. One analogy my father likes to use a lot is, imagine you just got gifted a bus and it has no gas. You're pushing it. Well, it's going to be a bit pushing, but you're pushing it to the gas station. You learn how to fill yourself up. You learn from others that are doing the same thing how to, oh, I ran out of gas. You learn how to keep going. Prepare yourself. Defend you. All right, not your teaching, but you. Create solutions, not problems. I guarantee it's easy for an admin to say yes, then say, oh, there's this issue going on, and you need to do something about it. Give them something where all they need to do is say yes or no. And I promise you, there's a very good chance they'll say yes. Create a solution to that, and it takes time. That is something that takes time. But it's always worth it because you have the control. So, with all that being said, so where should I look for first teaching? What's it like teaching in small school? I think a lot of us have bigger school experience, but I'm trying to also talk a little about small schools. What about other states? Again, my first 2 years of teaching were in Michigan, Indiana. So I understand a little bit about that. So let's talk a little bit about that. So first off, I want to talk about teaching in Class C. I am a small school teacher, so I've got to talk a little bit about it. In case you're wondering, here's just a couple points I'd like to make up for you guys. So first off, yes, money. But not just money for your own paycheck, but money for the school gets. Smaller schools is going to have a little bit harder and creative budgets, depending. That doesn't mean you can't get what you want. It just means that they're going to have a tighter budget. So you can't get maybe the nicest Yamaha instrument, but you might be able to get something. Smaller overpopulation of students. Well, there's only so much you can do if you only have 5 kids, right? And that might be all you have in some grades. The other thing, too, is K-12. It takes a lot of patience and mental change. How you handle a kindergartner throwing something at you and how you handle a senior throwing something at you. I hope you do something different because I guarantee if you yell at that kindergartner in the way that you would yell at a senior, oh, you're gonna have some very angry parents. The other thing, too, is understanding how their minds work. So, but here's the other thing about teaching in small schools. There's some advantage. I can connect with all of my kids so much. There's some kids that love the fact they know me. They know I'm an internet guy. They know I play video games. I've kicked their butts at Super Smash Brothers. And they ain't gonna beat me. I've competed. They know that I get it. They know that at least I understand some of the things that they might be going through or some of the things they see online. They understand that. And all of you guys, from your free time, if you ever go online and do stuff, yeah, that's something that you can actually use to help connect with your kids. You have full control of their musical growth. You decide exactly what they learn. Because I guarantee you might have there might be some teaching that you're saying, you know what, that's so dumb. Why is there a focus in that? You have control. You can teach it a different way. You can teach it a little bit. Later on, I'll show you a couple of cool ways that I like to teach. Once the seed has sprouted, there's some really cool stuff. So like I said, my band and choir got cut in half, right? And less. My current, and so keep in mind, Big Sandy's a small town. I have 34 in choir now, and I have 22 in band, but the only reason I have 22 is a schedule conflict that I'm still working on. But in the next semester, I'll have 37. I have a full thing. Well, thank you. But I don't say that to me. I say this because I could reach every single student. This is all by choice, mind you. Sometimes in small schools, it might be forced. This is all by choice. They have fun making music. They know how to have fun in music, okay? It's one of the reasons I'm talking the way I do here. The other nice thing is, depending on your gender, be aware of this. Women, you will attract probably more female students, especially when it comes to choir. I attracted a whole bunch of boys to choir, which was great because I needed them, but I didn't expect the amount I got. And it was. I actually had a harder time getting girls to stay in choir just because of me being a guy. So be aware of that, just different genders in that. The other thing is that it's peaceful in these towns. I came from constant motorcycles being revved at 11 p.m. at night, and shootings, and a whole bunch of other negative stuff. Coming out here in Big Sandy, when I hear a car go off at 9 p.m., I actually kind of look out the window saying, what's going on? Except during harvest. I understand there's stuff going on in harvest. It's quiet. It's peaceful. I can see the night sky. It's very, very relaxing for me. And the other thing is, the cost of living was cheaper. My first place I stayed at before my wife and I bought the house we have, rent was $400. No. I am lucky. If I played Fallout, my luck stacks to 10. Hey, but here's the thing. One is not better than the other. Don't hear me say, oh, well, big schools, they're terrible. Don't teach them. No. Not saying that. I think that sometimes we don't think about the small schools. I'm just trying to say it's different. Because like I said, K-12 teaching takes a lot of effort. And there's some really neat things you can do, but there's also neat things you can do in the larger settings. More kids, etc. So here's a couple differences that you may not have thought about. Smaller ensembles, when you're teaching them, they require more of a chamber music approach. I can reach them more one-on-one instead of a section. So I don't say, flutes, do this. I can actually say, hey, Jim, what are we doing? I can actually reach them more directly. It's a little, because they know that I'm not trying to pick on them in the giant group. They know me. Complement, do not compete with extracurriculars. A lot of these kids in the small schools are in everything. When it comes to FFA, Science Olympiad, track, football, sports, there's infinite things they can be a part of. I've got a couple of kids that I still give kudos to their parents. They've got 5 kids, and they show up to every single thing, and they are involved in every single thing. But they're there every time, and I still say kudos to you as parents. You shows how much you care, and the kids do great. Playing tests are actually kind of quicker in the smaller schools. I think nowadays with technology, we have ways like, hey, here's a recorder, as in a recording device, not a recorder, because some kids you'll know will do that. Here's that, record real quick. In a smaller school, it doesn't eat up a lot of time. It can just be done. The biggest thing is, if you're wanting to do this, repetition will define their expectation in the class. Especially this might be something new to some of them to have that excellent drive. Just make sure they're aware and set that example. Don't be offended if you ask oddly specific personal questions. An example, so where do you live? What kind of car do you drive? What do you do after school? I'll tell you 2 different stories. In one sense, where I came from, my first, I promise you, you will not have a worse subbing gig than the first subbing I did, because a kid pulled a gun on me. And as you guys have heard me talk, have I done anything to offend anybody? And if I did, who cares? Anyways, no, I was terrified. So when I come here and kids asking me personal questions, I'm like, what the heck? It's just because they're curious. They want to get to know you. This is that stepping stone mindset where they're going to say, oh, you actually care about me. There was another teacher that came into the school that got so violent of how dare you ask me where I live, and did this in the school. I know this from another teacher told me about this. And I said, how dare you? And they came after to the teacher that I found that's out from and said, man, they wanted to know where I lived, what car I drive. They were wanting to get to know, like, they're going to attack me. She goes, well, now they're going to like stalk your house because they're going to find out. They're just curious. They're not trying to do anything. I mean, I think the worst thing I've had is kids barge up to my door during Halloween saying, Mr. Bond, we know you have candy in there, open up. Which, hey, that actually made me laugh because I had so many kids that really wanted to see. And it's your choice. What you reveal to them, it's your choice, all right? Just be aware if it's something that's more vague, like, okay, what kind of car do you drive? They're going to find out, all right? It's just how you handle it. You might just like, you figure it out. For example, I don't tell them my name. My name is TJ. It stands for, I'm not telling you either, just in case they're paying attention. But I purposely will joke with them. It's like Theodore Johnson, or I think I did one was Thomas Jerome. Well, it's not of that. But I told them, there's a couple seniors that figured it out. And I'll say, I don't care if you actually know my name. It's just a fun game for me for that. So you could take something where you kind of want to keep it more to yourself and turn it into something that's a way of bonding and connecting with them. So solos and ensembles can be just as difficult as large schools. Here's something that you can have talent come from anywhere. I had a student, first year coming in here, they wanted to change to flute, and they were like, they just seemed like, you don't care about anything. Why would I want you to change? You're not practicing, you're not doing this and that. She's one of my best flute players now. And she got ones as a freshman at the state and district level. I have a trumpeter that is playing at a collegiate level as a junior because he practiced Song of Storms during COVID. He practiced getting his high note range. He practiced video game music. You would be surprised that excellence can come from anywhere. Less private instructors. This is probably the hardest change, and this is where there is an advantage in the big schools. You have more access to private instructors. There are online options, but let's be honest. COVID showed us online options aren't always fun. It doesn't mean easy music. It just means that when you're talking to them, let's say solos and such, you're going to have to do more effort to say, hey, this is exactly what they're looking for. Be direct. All right, they're not going to have the same guidance when they're at home. Most of the parents that you'll run into, especially in smaller schools, are probably going to be in the farming, ranching areas. All right? They're not going to know anything with music. They might just hear hot cross buns and say, that's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Well, we know better than that. More personal connections with the opportunities with the admin. Remember I said, create solutions, not problems. The elementary rotation schedule at first had me seeing K through 12 every day. K through 4, they bragged this to me when I was interviewed. K through 3, I would see 15 minutes every day. Back to back to back instantly. And I guarantee you, getting kindergartners wrangled takes 5 minutes at least. At least. So what can I do with barely any time because I got to get them ready to go for the next thing? I helped negotiate work. I actually not necessarily negotiate, but I rewrote the schedule in a way that worked. Not only I worked with the teachers, I worked with the other rotations like PE and library. I worked with them to say, hey, what would work for you guys? Would this work for you? And because of that, I managed to make a change where I maximized how much band time I got and maximized their music. So instead of, because I have band every other day with them along with the music rotation for some of my older kids, instead of it being where they'd have band, then they do something else, then come back to me, I have it connected every day, so I don't have to stop and change constantly. Don't have to worry about kids messing with instruments. So, I will say too, I am, like I said, if I played Fallout or any of those games, my luck stats maxed out. I am fortunate where I'm at. I won't try to say that I know everything. This is a nice facility. It used to be a Class B school. I have an auditorium. That's rare, especially in small towns. I have a community that is very, very musical, and thanks to Susan Walker for planting those seeds. There is a lot of community support. I had people disagree with me, but they, in the end, I proved them that I am trying to care. There was actually one person that was so against me at first that tried to get me fired, that ended up being a huge supporter with me once she saw the sprouting. She saw that, okay, you are different, but you're not wrong. All right? And also, the Big Sandy Church of God is huge about supporting education. Free coffee every day. And it's like decent coffee, not like, it's what we call coffee. So, curious about teaching in other states. What do? Well, first off, your teaching license. You want to make sure it transfers. One thing I came out here, that was one of the first things I looked up. It was pretty easy. But keep in mind, you often have to do your teaching license test again. And you'll probably have to pay out of pocket for that. And it can range different prices, $100 to $400. I had friends of mine that went to California. I think theirs was $450 plus. Yeah, so just be aware of it, all right? And if you are talking to another state and you say, hey, I know I'm going to have to do this, would you be able to compensate for me with that? If I would have known that, I probably would have been able to get that. It's just one of those things to be aware of. Check the teaching standards. In where I was at in Michigan, if I wanted to do something for festival, I had a set list of music I could pick from. That's it. Here, way more flexible for me. But it's just knowing it, being aware. I'm like, okay, I can do this, I can do this. Don't assume you've got your info when you take those tests, by the way. Double check your info. For example, I even brought it up a couple times. There's still questions about iTunes and very, very old recording formats. And I mean old. So you might have some kind of odd questions. Just be aware that they might pop up. The other thing is depending on the state, you have competitive versus casual. All right, where I came from was extremely competitive, in my opinion. I know there'll be the next speaker out here, Dr. Tim, which is a fantastic speaker. Might disagree with me on that, but from where I was at especially, it was very, very, very competitive. There's pros and cons to both. One of the things that I like to think is that competition can foster excellence in your students, but it can lead to a perfectionism issue in life. I mean, how many of you would say that you're kind of a perfectionist? Need I say more? Casual. You might have to work harder to motivate them. That was a big thing for me because I came from that competitive background. I had to motivate them to practice so much more. I had to push and push and push and push. But the thing is I've gotten them to experience really the essence of what music boils down to. And there's something to be said for that, to create that lifelong nurturing of music. From what I know, Michigan and Texas especially are competitive. And Minnesota is competitive for choir, but that's what I know from what I've heard. And again, this isn't pro or con saying you should go here or not. I'm just saying be aware that that's going to be the culture you're going into. Speaking of culture, going to a different state, you might have some culture shock. That happened to me, but mine was a joyful culture shock. I'm somebody who, I promise you, any single one of you can come up to me and talk to me, I'll say, hey, I'm very friendly, very one-on-one. Where I came from wasn't, but that's just the way I talk. I think Montanans as a whole have this better handling of how we can talk to each other. And it's just different, all right? Be aware that it's going to be different because this will cause stress to you. So be aware that you might need to take some time to adapt. It could be a month. It could be more. And just say, okay, this might be why I'm stressed. It's possible. One big one that is weather. I came from the Great Lakes. Very, very humid. We actually had the same amount of cloudy days as Seattle, where I was at. And wet snow is a nightmare. I see the nodding heads and I appreciate it because you understand. Wet snow is a nightmare to try to deal with. My wife didn't believe me until we went to a funeral for one of my family members. And she got to experience it because it was kind of a mini blizzard there as we're getting to the airport. And she goes, this was normal? I went, yeah. As we're just sliding down the road, just drifting along. Be aware. Also for me, came to dry. I went from wet to dry, so for me, chapped, dry all the time. I was constantly thirsty. All right. So sign-on bonus. You might get a sign-on bonus that might help cover the cost of travel, especially if you're going to a farther away state. It's something that helped me for my moving. Speaking of moving, though, if you're going towards the East Coast, avoid Chicago. And I say this for driving. I'm not talking about don't teach in Chicago. Because driving in Chicago is a nightmare, especially on that. People will run into you and they don't care. All right, especially if you have a large transport. It's just find a different route. I promise you, don't go through there, don't go through Minneapolis. Just find a different route, all right? Avoid those areas. All right, so here's some small bits. This goes to everyone, all right? So let's say no matter where you're teaching, these are some bits of advice that have helped me, and they might help you along your way. So first off, if you are instrumental, be able to play B flat and E flat scales on all instruments. I would say the F scale, but I'm helping out for brass range because I know sometimes getting that last note there be tough. The bigger thing is you understand the key signature, you understand fingerings. All right? I was very fortunate where I grew up. I had one of the churches I went to. It was the same church everyone from Notre Dame went to, so it was huge. They had a full band. But I told them I was going into music ed, and because of garage sailing and my own expertise, I've been able to kind of gather instruments. I have way too many instruments, and my wife actually thinks it's funny, so I can get more. But because of that, he says, oh, you are going to music ed. I'm going to hold you to that. Every Sunday, I had to figure out a different instrument and know it well. So I'm performing for people who are rich enough to buy me 5 times over. But the thing was, it taught me this is what I needed to do. This is what I need to do so I could teach it. Now I can pick up an instrument and just start playing, and my kids are just, huh? You can do that note on flute, but boys shouldn't play flute. Well. Actually, that's one thing I do fight too. I try to show, play what you want. I've got very talented boys and girls. Do what you want. Don't let anything stereotype bother you on that. All right? Choral and strings. Try to focus at least one woodwind and one brass. Just be aware of it. All right? Especially trumpet, baritone fingerings, they cut across borders on that. All right? The overtone series helps with that. A lot of woodwind fingerings match up too. If you're just aware of it, it helps. All right? Likewise, with that, know your vocal ranges. That was me. I didn't know them well enough. And I actually am a good singer. I know how to project. I know how to do lots of stuff controlling the voice. But I never had to think about it, and I actually needed to take that time to practice. I saw I accidentally skipped a step. Music history in theory textbooks, all right? I still have those. I've sold the rest of mine, but I've kept those because those sometimes give you some really neat ones, especially for high schoolers that are looking for additional challenge. You can pull from those, all right? It's a good resource to still keep with you. Piano. And this is something I'm adamant about no matter what you do. Be able to do your cadences, 1-4, 1-5, 1. Every scale, every key signature. This correlates to everything so you are comfortable. I can just play on the piano and do whatever I need to do. And then I'm not saying you need to do all the transitions, like different transpositions, things like that. What I'm saying is that you can do in block chords at least. Because that can help you do everything. All right, that helps in all aspects. MusicTheory.net. If you don't know about that website, I guarantee you it's a huge, cool resource because listening practice, free exercise customizer, note name practice. I was gone today and preparing for coming over here. My 5th graders did an assignment where I made a link for each instrument. Took me 10 seconds per instrument. I went and made their first 5 notes on their instrument as a challenge, 2-minute challenge. How many can you get right in the time? And they kept going and going. They still can't beat my record. Of course, no one will. But I did have a student get close when it came to the entire staff. They had, I think, 120 right in the 2 minutes. No, it was 140. That's right. Under the 2 minutes, and it was for the treble clef, and he plays baritone. So, kudos to him, first off. And I still was like, wow, and he found every shortcut possible. And he did it. He knows it. He still knows it. YouTube has phenomenal resources. YouTube is a glorious place of lots of stuff. For example, I use AJR, the band, to teach overtures. We've actually recently talked about operas and what an overture is. We talked about old movies and such, but I said, here's a modern day example. A lot of my music history course stuff, I treat as a yo-yo. I go way back in time, but then I pull it back to how that affected today. And I keep doing that constantly because that's what shapes everything. Gregorian chant and the even older, like the ancient music. I have the very first song. One assignment I do, I print out the cuneiform tablet. That's the first song. You say, here you go. What does it say? And I'm like, what? What? I know what they know because I've got control of their music. I know that they know at least what a quarter note's shaped like. They know what half notes are. They can recognize, and they actually try to find. Some of the kids will be like, I don't know. And then I'll say, well, do you guys see these weird diamond shapes occasionally? And they're like, oh, wait a second. And it's great, even those non-music kids. I had one kid, I still quote too. Mr. Bond, I can't sing. I can't hit a note worth my life. Mr. Bond, and I can't play trumpet. I've tried playing trumpet, tried playing clarinet. Let's be honest, I suck. But you know what? I like music. All right, I even said, you know what? You gave me whole effort this whole time. I appreciate it. I still joke with him in the hallway. I don't see him as in the classes anymore. But I still joke with him because I know he has that love for music. That's the goal. Another thing is, what exercise do for rhythm? Uses some background tracks to grasp 4/4 rhythms. So get your hands free, please. One of the things too in this goes for all levels. I've done this with kindergartners, and it works, and it's very fun. So, here we go. This is not my track. I ain't that cool yet. Usually I like to wait. They listen and like, ooh, what's going on? Ta, 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 ta. Ta, 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 ta. Yeah, guys, good. Aha. One thing I like to do when I clap, 4 rests. And I tell this to the kids as the song goes on because they're grooving with me. They're feeling the beat. When I do a rest, I turn my hands to the side so I show it. If it's a half note, okay? Because they're holding it through. So here we go. Ta, ta. Yeah. Now this one's always fun because there's going to be kids who say, oh, I'm not going to tell you how to do this one, guys. I'm not going to tell you. Here we go. You show me, ready, go. And you got those know-it-alls. I'll be like, oh, I know. Kindergartners being able to do eighth notes easily. T, 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 ta. T, 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 ta. Oh, Mr. Bond, that's not right, because we did that one before. Oh, but it's facing the wrong way. So what do we gotta do, guys? And a 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I promise you got those know-it-alls. They love it. All right, you guys are college. Come on, here we go. I'll speak it out because I know it's a little bit smaller. Wait, here we go. Ta, ti, ti, day to day. Day to day is a great way to teach dotted 8th, 16th rhythms. I've used that thanks to Dr. David Montgomery. For that, he's at Baylor. These, change it to the B-flat scale. These background tracks are everywhere. There's a bunch of wannabe SoundCloud artists out there. You can find it. You can find everything. I've even used groove, like disco groove tracks. I've used video game ones. One of my favorite ones I did was I used Ultra Instinct Goku, the theme song, that bum, 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 bum. I switched that, and there were kids like, Mr. Bond knows anime? Yeah. And I watched it before Boruto and all that, so I know the real stuff. So, but the thing is that I do that. But the thing is, different beats, different challenges. There's one that's a remix of Kirby Dreamland course called Green Greens. And in that, it's really fast. Doing those rhythms at that speed, but they're excited. They want the challenge. And they do it. They recognize the rhythms like nobody's business. It's just a tip on different ways. That trick I got from my mentor teacher, Brian Van Tol, who is now in Portage Central in Michigan. But he also would use karaoke tracks. Because he was a big fan of a bunch of different pop singers, so you just do a karaoke track. And a lot of them you'll find B-flat scale. Or the E-flat scale, F scale. Easy stuff. So, raise your hand if you're a percussionist. I guarantee one of the most frustrating things I see is match grip rolling on a timpani drum. And I see those nods. I hate it. I was in 8th grade. I got lucky because I was trained with Tom Knifick. At the time was the percussion head for the Cavaliers DCI band. I got lucky. I didn't know who it was. He taught me how to do percussion. And this is something instilled. Know at least this. Do not roll a timpani like you roll a snare drum. Be aware of the different grips, all right? I prefer the French grip, but I will take it a state. If you want to have different debates on that, that's fine. But do not roll that way. I think that's one thing we can all agree on. Be aware of percussion. They get ignored. Be friends with them back there before they start eating their boogers. Be friends with them. Let them know you. All right. I would live, like I said, Elkhart, Indiana is where I was born. I lived near the Selmer plant. Know how to fix some basic stuff. The biggest instruments that you need to fix are woodwinds, pads, springs. Mr. Bond, my flute doesn't work. You broke it. And then you see they've got their head joint on backwards. They took the cork out because it was fun on the inside of the head joint. It's like, ooh, this is fun, springy. You'll find the weird stuff. Just being able to do that. In valves, actually, it helps to know, hey, the spring in the inside of the valve case it's not doing good. All right, knowing that and being aware. Music history is full of unique and silly trivia. Use that to your advantage. I'm a huge fan of spiral curriculum. Like I said, the yo-yo idea. One thing I like to do in that is I hate behaviorism as a model, but this is where I do use it. I'll say, hey, I'll give you a fun fact on music if you listen today. And I'll give it to them. Like, is there a chance Mozart was assassinated? Well, if you look at the history and such, could be debated. There's a lot of things, small things like that. Beethoven was obsessed with Napoleon Bonaparte. Why? Ooh, another way to connect history. Elementary teachers, here's dealing with each of them. Elementary teachers guard their preps with their lives. And I mean, if they have to do anything during their prep, you will die. I learned that my first year. I'm like, oh, what, just 5 minutes? No! I need every moment. Perspective. Keep in mind, especially with some of the younger kids, they take a lot more stress. Just be aware of it. High school teachers have a harder time taking kids out of classes, small schools especially. If they're gone for sporting events, they're already gone a lot, right? So be aware of their time and communicate. Learn how to make your own programs using Google Docs. I have up here a few things that I've made, along with, I took in Essential Elements, thank you also, Dr. Tim. I took the first 5 notes as a cheat sheet, made it for every single instrument. They love knowing what their friends know. It's actually a really cool way. I give them this as a sheet. It's their cheat sheet for at first. I use Google Docs. Desktop backgrounds, free clip art. And I made actually several different programs. Let me hold up the right ones. These were posters from last year. So if you want to see them in more detail, please feel free to come on up after. Very simple stuff, but you can do a lot more than you think. There's freemium options everywhere. It's about finding your fit, and I'm going to go through fast because I know I'm short on time. So, your first job does not have to be your last job, but please, for all that is good, do not treat it like a stepping stone. These kids matter, no matter where you're at. Don't step on them on accident. Show them that you matter. Even if you don't decide to stay for a long time, that's fine. But show that love and connection to them, okay? Be willing to take a leap of faith. It took me a huge risk to come out to Montana from where I was at. I had no family out here. I had that one friend. That's it. That big risk, though, made the biggest difference in my life. I wouldn't have had my son. I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't be at peace the way I have if I didn't do that risk. So I encourage you, take that risk. Don't just sit and wait for someone to retire. Get the experience. Get those first years under your belt. Get that shoe leather worked in. So that when you get into a job, if you decide to keep going bigger and bigger, you understand what you need to do. Doing non-musical odd jobs will kill you. I worked at Kohl's for a year, and that was a nightmare. It will drain every bit of hope out of you because you're not doing what you love. Remember, it's not worth waiting. Ask for honest opinions. Don't ask for candy. Ask for your meat and potatoes or your veggies. Ask for the honest truth, because sometimes that honesty will help you understand, this is what I got to be ready for. I hope I haven't scared you, but prepared you is all I want you to have. All right? Live to your life needs. Your first year might be survival. That's just how it is because you're learning the ropes with that. But after that, you can focus on thriving. This is just a little plug for something I'm doing on Friday, kind of talking about bigger life things. This is not mental health. This is about, mental health is like cutting a dandelion head. Dandelion's going to grow back. I'm trying to pull the root here, okay? So, I don't want to spoil anything, so check out later. But in the end, guys, your talents, skills, everything, you are needed here. Welcome to this chaotic, but so fulfilling job. One last quote I'd like to give you. First off, personal email, phone, give me a ring if you never need anything. That quote is by my dad, every day. Every sunrise is a new chance to a fresh start and to restart. So no matter how bad a day gets, sun's a promise of a new present. You've all been wonderful. Thank you.